And how dare you?
How dare me? I have the power, Austin. I will kick you right off this panel.
I dare you.
Don't
You
test me. All right, goodbye, Austin.
Don't do that on screen, Jackson. That's all
What
right.
is going on, everyone? And Austin is gone. I told him. He tested the waters. I told him I would do it. All right, I'll bring him back. I'll be nice. What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the College Football After Dark show right here on the main channel of the Voice of College Football. We are talking 2024 non-conference games, but as usual, in I guess normal fashion, one by one. Jackson, Will, Austin, tell people where they can find you online if they want to stalk you.
Well, if they want to stalk me, they can find me on YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979. They can also find me on X at Jackson09960335 and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908. So that's where they can find me. They can also find my latest episode of the Jacksonian with Johnny Burtz for episode 42. Let me tell you, it was a fun one.
He's trying to look like you, Troy. He's trying to look like you.
Lumberjack Will. I like it.
I think he looks more like a leprechaun, to be honest with you.
Hey, I like that.
Hey, that's a good one.
He kind of looks like the modern day Kris Kringle from Santa Claus Coming to Town. He's
at the beginning, like in the middle of the movie, not the end.
Yeah,
not the end.
yeah, like before the end. That's pretty funny. I love it. Pretty great.
You guys can find me at youtube.com and then the at Will ND Irish and then Marcus_Error on X. Happy to be here, guys. This should be a lot of fun.
Let me find this. Something's missing from this screen. There it is. I was like, something's missing. Someone turned that off again.
You can find me. You can find me on Twitter /X, whatever you'd like to call it. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook now. And you can find me right here on YouTube at Sports Talk with Austin 2002. I got a lot of great stuff coming, including a special live stream coming up hopefully soon in the near future about certain college football games. Can't wait to get into that. But, Sean, where can people stalk you?
Well, you can contact many people on my PPO list, or they seem to be quite good at it. But I believe Jackson probably has a link to my little ramshackle Twitter page. You can find me, follow me on there if you want, and if you want an annoying amount of Olympic wrestling updates this week, that's probably the best spot you can find.
And you can find me on YouTube at Only Talk Sports, where I used to talk sports every single day, or at least I tried to, but not happening as frequently right now. But when college football comes around, I'm going to try to ramp up the content once again on a more regular basis. But thanks, Troy. Thanks. And you can find me also on Twitter, because I refuse to call it X. Jeffrey at Only Talk Sports, where I usually tweet pretty frequently about various stuff going on in mostly the sports world, some other stuff too. But that's where you can find me on the internet. I'm not on Facebook or none of those others, just Twitter and YouTube. Glad to be here tonight.
I agree with Troy. I think this whole panel needs a beard. You need to have beards. This entire panel.
I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I've had small ones in the past, but it just itches, man.
I know, right?
You got to get over that. You have to let it grow.
Yeah, you have to wait it out. You have to survive the itching.
It only lasts 4 or 5 days, really.
I feel
Let it play out.
If you grew a beard, it would look fake. Kind of I don't think you don't have the facial structure that a beard would look.
Well, I mean, also it made me look old too. A lot of people think I'm really young, so it's kind of keep it that way.
But now I want to see it too. I'm kind of curious to see how it actually would come in. I'm kind of curious.
I
Well,
mean,
Ben-
hey, I don't really have a lot of patches. I don't really have that problem, but still,
Okay.
it just I don't know.
That's
It
good.
would
not-
definitely
everybody,
help out with the weird comments. There would be
Yeah,
less
people-
weird comments
Yeah,
on your
people who have the
stream.
patches. That's where I get when people don't grow beards or whatever. If they have like all the patches,
Yeah.
I get
You
it.
know all about it, Will. Though I've gotten a lot of weird
Mhm.
comments. It's ridiculous. It's like, for one thing, I'm of age. Okay, number one, but number two, you're just plain weird because you think I'm not. That's just wrong.
Don't listen to Troy here. That's a bad idea. That is a bad idea.
No way.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, it worked for Alex Trebek. It got him a lot of ladies in the hot tub.
Alex Trebek could rock it though. He can rock it. You know.
It depends on the person. It depends on the person.
So I mean,
All right.
but
And
then where can everybody?
Yeah, that's
Where
what I
can
was
they
going to get.
talk
I
about
always forget at the beginning to do it. Usually we just jump in afterwards. And I'm just Ben of Exploring with Ben and Sam. You can find us here on YouTube. You'll find me here on the Sunday night shows. You'll find me here Tuesday or Wednesday for the Oregon live shows also. And note, everyone, more importantly, this is why it's important to like and subscribe to videos and hit the notifications, because next week we might be off. We might not be. We're going to figure that out. I have something going on next Sunday. But if you hit the notification bell, you will be alerted immediately as soon as the show becomes available if it goes live next Sunday. So make sure you do that. It only takes a second. As well as check out all the sponsors in the description section from Aura, SNHU, the soap company. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Mark appreciates it. It helps the channel a lot. And you get free products and a lot of good stuff coming along with it that can help you out. So
And
definitely do
today
check out
is the last day and the final hours of the Chris Gates Fitness, where you can get code VOICE from July 22nd to August 4th to get 80% off your first month, just $10. And if you love top-notch exclusive live streams, watch parties, predictions, betting advice, and insider looks in all of college football, come on in to patreon.com/MarkRogersTV or become a YouTube member of the Voice of College Football, where you can get the best insider knowledge in all of college football, and you can be on College Football After Dark Sunday nights right here at the Voice of College Football.
Let's
Let's get the
I
Voice
will
of College
say-
Football to 100,000.
I will say that people need to use the Chris Gates training program, though, because like we could all use some fitness, man. We could all use some fitness.
I'm gonna try to
But
get
you know what,
back
Jeffrey?
to every day at the gym.
You know what, Jeffrey? While we're doing this fitness, we need to look good doing it. And there's only one way to do that. And that's with your exclusive Voice of College Football merchandise. While you're running down the hill, looking good for the... Yes. While you're running down the hill looking good for your neighbors as you're going by looking at you. Oh, what's that on his shirt? That's the Voice of College Football. I wonder what that guy does.
Oh, yeah. There's a new shirt. There's can cooler. Be a fan, just don't be a dumb one. I like that mug. Oh, the wine glass. Oh, and the notebook. The Voice of College Football notebook. It keeps all your secrets safe. So if you got,
I bet Connor Stallions used
Oh,
that.
there we go. Yeah. No. He didn't, and that was the problem.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know what's more funny, what Sean just said or Will. Oh my goodness.
Equally good. Equally good.
If Connor Stallion would have used that notebook, they would have never caught him. But
True.
it's a little late now.
Well,
Hey, I remember when the merch store only had a few items. This is impressive. This is
Oh,
impressive.
yeah. And there's
Yeah,
phone case.
Austin, you showed us earlier. You're rocking the Voice of College Football booty shorts. Would you like to?
Oh,
how are those
Oh, my
fitting?
Oh, yeah.
I want that imagery out of my head.
Oh, God.
Sean, as much as I love the Voice of College Football, I don't love it that much. But that bag looks fashionable. I can carry
Not
that around the store with my
dedicated, man.
dog.
Not dedicated.
Well, there's the dog
And that
bowl.
hat,
Does the dog come as well?
No.
I'm not sure. I didn't know. It's in the picture, so the dog could come
He's
too.
giving us that sad face. That's what he's giving
No,
us.
that poor dog.
Even better.
That poor dog is used in every stock photo on all of our things on that site. That poor
Even
dog.
Wait. No. These aren't stock photos, are these? These are candid images of voice in college ball merch.
I mean, that dog is used for
Even-
every dog bowl one, though. I guarantee. Go Jackson. Go to mine.
Yeah,
Go to my
yeah.
page,
You go onto
Go to my page on
Shutterstock,
top.
all these images.
and then go into the. See, there's the same.
Hey,
dog.
well, at least
The
it's a
same
different
damn dog.
pose, though.
I
At
know,
least
but
it's a different
it's
He
the same
pose.
looks
damn
pretty
dog.
he looks pretty satisfied, especially with that Pop-Tart he's gonna see at the end.
Maybe he's an Oregon fan.
Maybe.
You know, Jackson, I couldn't help but notice on a hot day, summer day like this, you need something to cool you down. I see that beautiful tumbler right there. Well, you could walk around with a Voice of College Football tumbler with an ice cold drink, maybe a glass of tea in there, maybe a beverage of your choice. You can look stylish doing it, and you're promoting the Voice of College Football.
Oh yeah.
Definitely
We're all
do check out the
master
merch.
promoters here, man.
Yeah, definitely do
Look
check
at
out the merch store.
Jackson.
Description is the link is in the description of this video. I am sure. So do go check out that stuff for yourself as college football season's coming up. I mean, you know it's ramping up really quickly. I mean, damn, we're less than 30 days away.
Still can't
It's
believe
coming.
it. It's creeping up on us.
20 days until week 0, and I believe 25 days until week 1.
So that Thursday night.
Actually, that 24-hour live stream on August 29th, right here
Oh,
at the
God,
Voice of College Football.
I forgot about that. I forgot about his 24-hour live stream coming up.
Well, we can't be forgetting that stuff. That's for sure.
Hey, I've called in the last 2 years. I'll try to do it again at some point. I think the first year I did it like 4 p.m. and then the next year I did it at like 10 a.m. It's like the earliest ever.
man.
Like Mark needed a caller. He was like, somebody call in. And I was up and I was like, I called in. There was no one there. I talked to him for like an hour. And then I called back to the show like at night as well at like 1 a.m. and we talked like Nebraska football till like 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah, we talked about – oh, yeah, yeah, we stayed up till 2, 3 a.m. in the morning talking about Nebraska's shitty
Remember
football
Scott Frost?
team.
Remember that? Me and Corey were just
Yeah.
going crazy about whether it was all his fault or not. It was like, dude,
Mark used to be an Iron Man, but he's kind of wimped out the last few years. He's had to tag in and out with a couple of our correspondents.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was basically like, he was just like me and Corey go at it till like 4 a.m. He was like, I got to do the full 24 hours, but he didn't even talk for like the last 2 hours. He was just letting us go, man. It was so funny. Like, he even like left for like 20 minutes and just let us talk. It was
Well, I
funny.
mean, we stayed up a little bit talking about Me TV and some of the Westerns. So maybe
Yeah,
this
Big
year,
Valley, man.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, this year we'll probably stay up late talking about Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon on the 24-hour live stream.
Man, I'm all for it, man.
Well,
That
thinking
is
of
in the future.
yeah, that is in the future. Right now, today there's other news that came out, and I will divert to you guys. Like I said, I was kind of offline all day and yesterday a bit, so I haven't gotten to fully catch up with it. But as Nick says here, I thought Connor Stallions worked for Central Michigan. Well, that's one of the other breaking news things, and not in the sense of the main topic, but Central Michigan fired their quarterback coach just this last week, allegedly something to do with the investigation, and they fired him right before the season. So that's pretty telling because they knew each other from Michigan, you know. So if Connor Stallions was on the sideline of Central Michigan, that guy would have known, and then they fired him. So, you know, that says something, I think.
There's I mean, I don't know how credible this is, but on one of the podcasts I was listening to this evening, somebody reported that there's basically on tape that they have it for sure. They know that it was at Jake Costner handing a field pass to Connor Stallions. Now, how that Costner got a hold of the field pass, I really don't know. How they got it made up.
Anyone who still disputes that is not Connor Stallions is an idiot. They've done all that replication of like face layovers, and then the guy's literally wearing a thing that's recording from the sunglasses and not dodging the cameras the whole time. Like, come on, man. You know who that is.
As soon as the play is going out of bounds near him, he's like running away.
Yeah, he's like Duck and hide.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the big news, I will divert to you guys because obviously you guys are going to be more involved in all the sort of tidbits of it than I have been this weekend since I've been offline.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Well, I mean, it appears. So apparently, ESPN got a hold of a draft of the notice of allegations that the NCAA is planning to issue Michigan. And it's not a finalized copy. I don't know how much of that's been confirmed, but it lays out a series of allegations against Michigan, many against members of the staff. I think there's 5 coaches that are hit with level 1 violations in this, including Jim Harbaugh. None of those 5 are still on the staff right now. Sharon Moore got hit with a level 2 violation, which is curious to me because apparently he deleted, some 56 or some text messages between him and Connor Stallions. I believe that there was some sort of.
It was like right after the initial news broke, he deleted it or something like that.
Right. Yes, and I mean, apparently that they retrieved the data from those text messages, and they didn't find them to be especially incriminating. So he's got a level 2, but he is already on probation and has a show cause against them. So this could spell real trouble for him. I mean, there is a non-zero chance that he could be gone from Michigan soon. I don't think it's going to happen, but I mean, he's almost certainly going to face an additional suspension at some point down the line here. And and the university itself was also issued a level 1 violation, and targeted. The language in it was something like hindering and obstructing an official investigation, which is a very, very serious allegation to be making against an entire university, not just the athletic department, not the football program, the university received a level 1 violation, which I don't know if I've ever heard of.
I don't know. I always like to bring up a personal case that people always talk crap about. They're like, Chip Kelly did recruiting violations at Oregon, and it was like, yeah, and they self-reported them to the NCAA for investigation on themselves, and he got a show cause when he left for the NFL. But and they still got scholarship reductions, like five or something like that. But the point is, they asked the NCAA, "Hey, are we in the wrong here?"
That was over the Lake Seastrunk.
Yeah, that was part of it. From the recruiter they were paying to. So, but they reported it themselves. That's the difference. Michigan is trying to hide stuff. That's a big difference.
Oh yeah, I mean, the allegations seem quite serious, and I mean, I know everyone's going to say I'm a biased Buckeye here. I don't care about Michigan getting sanctioned. I wish this story wasn't happening, in all honesty, because I mean, I don't. Michigan beat us those years. I don't care about making excuses.
I think it's funny on that comment, though, that said the moment any non-Southern school wins, like Ohio State, USC, Michigan. I think it should have said non-SEC because USC is in the South, man.
Well, it's not. It's different.
The South is a more specific meaning than just.
Yeah.
I understand that. I know what it's meaning, but it's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, we talked about Georgia. I think I hinted at it last week, but look at Georgia. I mean, their program, like half the team getting in trouble every single year, and nothing happened to Georgia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're squeaky clean.
No, Michigan wasn't afraid of Central Michigan. They were doing it for Michigan State.
Yeah. Michigan. I mean, and
why they were afraid of Michigan State, I have no idea either. But
well, who knows exactly like what the reason for that operation was? But I don't know. It's certainly very, very illegal, and I mean, I don't think anybody can reasonably say that a humongous edge was gained by him going to that game. So it seems like just one of the Real got caught 2 days ago cheating. Yeah, and Kentucky, for context, Kentucky has had 2 years of of wins vacated for 0 level 1 violations. And none of the coaches or coaching staff implicated in it at all. So, I mean, like, that is not a good sign for Michigan. If Kentucky is getting this, and there's absolutely no indication from the NCAA that the Kentucky coaching staff did anything improper. And they're definitely saying Michigan's coaching staff did. And the university itself did. So, I mean, like, these are very serious allegations for Michigan. And if you're still doing the Fisher Price and hammer emoji at this moment, I would lay off that for the time being, because I don't think they're going to like what comes down the road here. I mean, all signs point to this being a.
I mean, from everything I read, it doesn't look good. Let's put it that way. I mean, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Now, to what extent? That's the question. But it definitely doesn't look good. I mean, it depends on if the NCAA wants to throw the book at Michigan like they did USC before, or if they're going to slap on the wrist, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because Harbaugh left. But if you're already also involved Sharon Moore, that's not, and the university, that's definitely not good. When the university is involved and being charged with a violation, that's not good.
Also,
back in the past,
they still killed SC pretty hard.
Back in the past, though, I mean, John Calipari went from Memphis to Kentucky, and they gutted Memphis still. So, I mean, they used to do that even if the coach left anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But that was also back in 2009, 2010 or whatever, and we don't know what they're going to do in 2024.
Yeah.
I think that's when the NCAA still had some balls.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they gutted Indiana back in the late 2000s too, but again, it was a different era.
I mean, the reasonable predicates for this are probably Kentucky, which just happened a couple days ago, Arizona State, which suffered, which was apparently commended for their cooperation,
and they still got killed.
And they still got killed. They took a bowl ban. They self-imposed a bowl ban because they knew they were going to be terrible last year. So they self-imposed a bowl ban and lost like 20 scholarships.
It's funny when you gut a program that was not even good anyway, versus like Georgia. It's like, okay.
And Tennessee also got hit really hard with sanctions, over the Jeremy Pruitt saga. And Michigan.
The funniest part is they didn't even win under Pruitt. That's the ironic part. They cheated and they did a horrible job at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Same at Arizona State. Herman Edwards didn't win a damn thing there.
He had a couple decent years.
Decent. Yeah.
Yeah, like when they beat Indiana in the bowl game, they shouldn't have won that game. That was about it.
Yeah.
Jeremy Pruitt just screamed bad head coach for me. When we got hired.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right.
So
we are streamlining the hell out of this show tonight, people. I apologize. That's my end of this. Gentlemen, would you like to get into the topic of tonight? Something that it's coming up soon. We've got to start looking at it. We got to take it seriously. This is best non-con games of 2024 preview. And I think if I went around this circle, what would you say just before we look at lists or really talk about a bunch of them off the top of your head right now? What would you say in order, like Jackson will? What was your number one that you want to see this year non-con?
Texas, Michigan.
God, Will beat me.
I like how Will skipped Jackson. He couldn't even follow simple directions.
Oh,
that beard is making you an egomaniac.
Oh my Lord! Well,
right, Texas, Michigan.
Since he skipped, I'll just say if he's got Texas, Michigan, I'll just say Alabama, Wisconsin, because Texas, Michigan's better. But I'll say Alabama, Wisconsin, I guess.
Well,
sorry, Jack.
I mean, I'm torn between Texas, Michigan, and Pittsburgh, West Virginia. But you know what? It's my list. It's my number one. Pittsburgh, West Virginia. Somebody's got to respect them because ESPN sure as hell ain't going to respect them.
That game's
we
not
get
even
it
going to be in
the whole
anybody's
world.
top 10 list.
Oh, and
Austin?
Florida, Miami's a good one. So don't-
Austin, what about
LSU,
you?
USC.
Nah, damn it! Stop
For me-
taking my picks.
For me, this may sound like a homer pick, but Louisville Notre Dame.
And don't
That is
even
a
count
homer.
according to ESPN.
That is a homer pick.
Sad.
yeah, well, screw ESPN. This is the voice of college football. They ain't.
Hey, I'm with you, man. I think it's funny.
I don't count ACC games for Notre Dame though as non-conference games either. They're basically the league team.
I mean, they're affiliated with the ACC, but they kind of technically have some ties to the Big Ten as well.
Yeah, that's why it's
ACC.
that's why it's weird. It's kind of weird. It's hard to track with Notre Dame. That's why I had to ask Austin. I was like, is that actually a non-con game this year? Because it's just there's this weird feeling with Notre Dame and the ACC. It's like, is it a non-con or not? Because sometimes they play ACC and it's a non-con, and sometimes they don't. You know, it's like I can't keep track, to be honest. What about you,
Another
Sean?
sneaky
What
one?
do you?
Okay.
Was it?
Honestly, the game I'm most excited for, the week 1 game, is also involves the Fighting Irish, Notre Dame and A&M. I think Notre Dame's a better team.
Mm-hmm.
I probably will still think they're a better team than A&M, regardless of the result of this game. But I think I will pick A&M when push comes to shove in that game. Just that atmosphere, week 1, having all summer to build up. Well,
Sean, how can you say that right now, man? How can you say that?
what, Sonny? What?
Will's like, come on, man. Notre Dame gonna win.
And,
Yeah,
I don't know.
no,
I'm with you, Sean. I think A&M could win. I really do. I'm like 60-40 on that game.
Yeah, this is like, I mean, it feels like just the prime spot when A&M shows up. When A&M shows up, I mean, they're going to be they're already doing yell practice for that game. I mean,
Oh my god.
and I mean, like that's a matchup you never see, and it's going to be an absolutely insane environment.
Right now the line's even, but A&M slightly favored on the money line, but the gap's closed.
I need to get a clip. I need to get a clip of the A&M yell squad. I need to get a clip of that. And Stephen Cherry,
I got a good one.
That's not a
it's a
non-con
conference game.
No.
Remember this year. It's a conference game.
It's
Ben,
not a
I got another good one for
You're
you.
in 2024, not 2020, my man.
Ben, I got another good one for you. Colorado, Nebraska.
Come on, man.
Yeah, it could be. Well, it depends on Nebraska's side of it because it was good for like the first half last year, and then Colorado tore them apart.
Oh, that game, I mean, Nebraska was just sad, man. I mean, they just kept, Jeff Sims just kept fumbling the ball, man. Like, the guy was unbelievable.
Yeah, this one. I personally, I think USC LSU is going to be very interesting. You have
USC LSU.
good offense, 2 really good offenses, 2 questionable defenses. So will USC's change of defensive coordinator help, or will it just be a shootout? I'm kind of very curious about this game, actually.
Or who's
really
going to be
wish
the
I-
cringiest coach in that game?
I
My
really
money
wish-
leans on Brian Kelly.
I really wish this game was last year because I would have probably doubled my net worth betting the over in that game because there's absolutely no way Vegas would have set the line high enough.
It would have been
I
like
don't even know if 60 would
65
have
to 60 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if 60 would have been enough to win that game.
77-70.
Yeah, it would have been bonkers.
You also have Clemson, Georgia again.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of trolley comments here, I see.
All right. Well, let me pull this.
North Carolina, Minnesota.
That's a decent game. I mean, Carolina's got to be decent. I mean, I don't know. No more no more Drake May. They blew the Sam Howell and Drake May era. So I mean, Max Johnson. I mean,
Max
I don't know.
Johnson, come on.
I'm seeing
How
a
about
mid-team.
BYU SMU, the 44th anniversary of that 1980 Holiday Bowl? How about that?
Not bad.
There are some
Solid
good
game.
games. I think we think all the games this year though are going to be interesting, just because I think we're football hungry. Like we're just
And it's
we're
all
just
this
waiting for it.
realignment, these different look as well. It's just making it unique.
It's kind of interesting this year with the 12-team playoff. I mean, these non-conference games are going to be really fun, but it doesn't feel like there's quite as much blood at stake in any of these because you can recover from a loss.
Well, you can recover from a loss because you can go in the ranking, and so when you're as long as you win your conference, you get a bye. But if you don't and you've lost a non-con game, especially if that team turns out to be crap, you're getting drugged down the ranking. So maybe you end up, like they noted earlier, you end up the 13th team who doesn't make the playoff. So it still is, I think it's still important. You mean?
Oh, it's definitely important, but it's not like fatal. You know what I mean? It's like I'm sure you're invested. No, Will's just going to be as invested in that Notre Dame Texas A&M game as if it was 2 years ago. And it was a 14 playoff. Like he's not going to care any less about it. But it also, at the same time, it's like there's more upside because you win a game like that. It really, really helps your chance to get to the 12-team playoff. And if you lose, I mean, you got a whole season. You know what? I mean, so it's both higher upside and lower downside.
That's why I've stuck to the philosophy. This is the first year. We're going to see what matters because every year we know the committee has had like different kind of standard and viewpoints of how they look at teams or what they think is important. So this year with the 12 team, what is that defining factor, especially between 12 and 13? What is it?
No matter how many teams that they put into the playoff, there's always going to be an argument between like the 16th and the 17th or the 24th and the 25th. I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, they do it in college basketball. The last four in and the first four out. Oh, man, that first team that's in the NIT that ends up opting out now because they don't even play in it. Oh, they should have been in the field of 68. I mean, it doesn't matter how many teams you add. There's always going to be an argument. But
it's absolutely silly if you can't get into a 68 team bracket like Crimea River.
Yeah,
I mean, even if you had a team that was capable of winning a national title, you didn't deserve a chance to play for it. If you're not that point.
It's crazy how many teams have sneaked in though that have made the Final Four. Like in the first four, there's been like 4 or 5 of them that made the Final Four or so. Sometimes you're not that great when you go on a run.
The last four you're talking about, like the last 4 teams.
You have in the last 4 in, you have the first 4 in Dayton when they added the 4 extra. That is since they entered in 2011, 4 of them have made the Final Four.
Wait, 4?
4.
4 of those teams?
4. 4 of the last 4 in have made the Final Four in the last 13 years.
Huh. Well, yeah, wow. I remember when George Mason did that back in the day, and I didn't realize that many teams.
Weren't they an automatic bid when George Mason?
No, they weren't.
They were at large. I was only like 2 years old. I don't even remember that.
By like a lot of basketball metrics, Nerd said they were a weak at large. Like they shouldn't have gotten in.
Well, that's what they said. I'm sorry, like just as a Homers fan, which I don't watch basketball because I have a jinx and a curse on my team. If I watch them play, they lose. Oregon shouldn't have been anywhere near the tournament last year. They ran that Pac-12, tournament, won it. Then they got all the way to 32, and they should have gone to the Sweet 16, but they blew it against Creighton.
Oh man, that game was so good. That was a great game.
And so it does.
My alma mater forced an overtime game. They were, God, who did we lose to? Who did Oakland lose to in the round of 32?
NC State.
NC State. That's right. We were. We blew our chance at the Sweet 16, and Oregon theoretically should get back there every so often. Oakland, I don't know.
Well, a lot of teams hit their stride late. I mean, that's what happened to UCLA that year that they were in the last four in. They went to the Final Four. They hit their stride late. They were like under 500 at one point in that season, and then they turned it around. So, I mean, basketball is a completely different thing than football. I mean, you can be a mid-team based off injuries, or the team didn't gel yet, and then you hit the stride late, and you have like 5 games in a row where you shoot well. In football, if you got a good O-line, D-line, Alabama's beat Mercer every time. There's no upsets. It's not happening. There will be no upsets.
Alabama Mercer. What a game.
I remember when Mercer beat Duke. That was crazy.
I'm gonna get sick.
I remember when Alabama was tied with the Citadel at halftime.
Yeah, well, they weren't even trying in that game, and then they beat them 60-10. So, and it's funny that the comment says one and done is destroying basketball. The one and done thing's been going on for like 20 years, and I would argue it's actually getting not as bad now because of the fact that less people are going pro after 1 year because of NIL, which is keeping them in college basketball. So I argue that argument is kind of dead. I'm not saying it still doesn't hurt, but it's not as big a deal.
Also, a whole lot of the players aren't even going to college basketball. Like, they're going into the G League or they're heading over to Europe. Like, the guys that are going to be first-round picks, some of them don't even bother with college
the
basketball
G League
anymore.
Ignite that they had, they got rid of that. G League Ignite's history. It's gone. It bit the dust.
Dang.
The Overtime Elite, I think, still exists, but the G League Ignite's not. It's done.
All right, this is the shit I'm talking. This is the shit I'm talking about on this show. How we get sidetracked. This is a college football show, people, not a college
NC State
basketball
Tennessee is
show.
a decent non-conference game in football.
This is what happens.
I was about to say that.
Grayson McCall.
All right.
Welcome to the big leagues.
All right, here we go. Let's. I'm going to pull this up again. This list. This is the NCAA
Oh, wait,
list.
Gary.
It's a 20 games. I don't know why they did this. They should have listed all of them. So there are some good ones on here, but there are some missing. And so you guys pick out, like we did, but pick out some of these and let's just talk about kind of week by week a little bit. Not too in depth. Relax, everyone. Calm down.
We've already gotten to a lot of them. That's the sad thing.
I know. Well, that's why we're going to do this. And if there's something missing, obviously, like Louisville, Notre Dame, obviously bring it up because this list is missing stuff, and it's sad that the NCAA couldn't even put up a good list. So this is week 1, and we've got, of course, as noted, Clemson, Georgia, Penn, West Virginia, Miami versus Florida, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I don't know why Georgia State, Georgia Tech is on here.
We're all in that for the Battle of Hotlanta. Come on.
I don't know why that's on this list.
We need Outcast for the Outcast and Killer Mike for the pregame.
The field will be smoking.
Who wrote that list? Good grief.
I have no idea. I was like, Georgia State, Georgia Tech. What the heck?
Austin remembers, but Indiana Louisville should have played this year, but they canceled it.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy when I found out it got canceled.
Yeah,
Indiana Louisville should be playing.
Indiana's fault. It was Indiana's fault, I think.
But
those two schools are only like an hour and a half apart from each other. They should be playing regularly.
It's Indiana's fault because of the fact that 3 non-conference games, they want 3 automatic wins. That's why they got rid of it.
Of course.
Make a bowl game easier.
How are we feeling about big noon kickoff for Penn State, West Virginia? Could we see upset galore in Morgantown?
That is a really bad break for West Virginia for that to not be a night game. I would like their chances much better if it were later. But I don't know. I mean, I think West Virginia is going to have a pretty good team. I would be very surprised if they upset Penn State, but
it depends how much better Andy Cottle Kenny, is that the guy's name is? Cottle Kenny?
Cole Mickey.
How much better Drew Aller is this year will be a big deal, of course, for Penn State. I mean, it's obvious, but
they need to have him throw down the field.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about Drew Aller is He's kind of like the next Kirk Cousins. He does well in the games that no one's really talking about, like a Penn State Northwestern. But you pit him up against an Ohio State or a Michigan, he's in big trouble.
They didn't have him throw downfield in that game, though. They could have beaten Ohio State easily if he had just thrown downfield, but they didn't. And to be honest, he's had a lot of games against average opponents where even his stats have not been all that good.
No.
I mean, like they were not playing well against Northwestern in the first half. Some of those games, like the person wrote in the comments just now, Drew needs wide receivers who can get open. That's true, but again, the routes that they run are awful. Like it's all check downs. You're not going to beat. You're not. Yes, play calling was horrible. Absolutely, that's the problem. The play calling was worse than the receivers.
Yeah. He needs to grow a pair. He looked scared to death in all those big games. Those big moments against you like could just sense the anxiety coming from him against Ohio State and Michigan. I mean,
sometimes it's better to give it all you got and lose than just go out there and try everything you can not to screw up, and then you end up losing anyway. That's all they did. Like Penn State did not screw up against Ohio State, but they didn't do anything to help them win either.
Well, I think they were something insane. I think they failed to convert on the first 15 third downs in that game. Something like outrageous.
Steven's saying beat Ohio State easily. I'm not drinking anything. I'm drinking some water. But what I'm saying is that Penn State did not put any pressure on Ohio State's defense. You even know, Steven, that Ohio State's secondary has been weak the past few years. That's all I'm saying.
Ohio State secondary was excellent last year. The Buckeye secondary was a strength of the
ball
team.
down the field on them, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
I mean,
Gary Williams says nobody beat Ohio State easily. Michigan did that year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just saying Penn State lost the way they did because they didn't even try to win. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But as we see Notre Dame, Texas A&M, that's going to be the battle between Mike Elko and Riley Leonard. I mean, seriously, a year ago when we watched Clemson Duke, I don't think any of us thought we were going to see Mike Elko, Riley Leonard go against one another in Notre Dame, Texas A&M.
Yeah, both of them at different schools first week of the year. That's definitely an interesting storyline, and that definitely probably plays into A&M's favor, I would say. The fact that the head coach has that kind of familiarity with.
Well, all right. If Riley Leonard can push the ball downfield better, I think we'll win. I mean, we won't win this game easily, but I think it'll be comfortable because that's what Mike Denbrock and Gino Guidugli, they've been working on his deep ball. Mm-hmm. And the Irish finally have some guys that can go deep. Jordan Faison, Chris Mitchell. If Notre Dame, if we can have some more like 6-play, throw it deep for touchdown drives this season, I think the Irish will have much more success. And especially with the running backs. I mean, Audric Estime was great, but we have Jadarian Price, very similar to Jonathan Edwards. I think he'll have some big plays in this game, hopefully. Jeremiah Love, they're going to do a lot of screen passes to him. So I just think this is a much more dynamic Irish offense, and we should be able to win the trap games like this one because the offense can be as good as the defense.
I will say, Will, this game scares me because Mike Elko knows Riley Leonard inside and out.
He knows Riley without his hopefully new deep ball. Like if Riley has that extra gear, I think it'll be much harder for them to stop. Now, I'm not saying A&M doesn't have guys on the defense that can play well. I mean, Nick Scoreton, he's one of the best D linemen in the game. He's going to be causing us problems. He was great at Purdue, the only saving grace of Purdue's season, and then he goes to the portal to A&M. So, I mean, it's not going to be easy, but I think the Irish should be able to put up enough points to beat the Aggies with how good this defense is going to be.
Yeah, and that Texas A&M offense is going to be. I don't think they're anything to sleep on. They've got they've got a real potential NFL quarterback back there.
But I'm just their O line isn't great though.
No,
And I think our D
no.
tackle should be able to breathe down his neck. Howard Cross and Riley Mills, like they were as good as the Michigan D tackles last year. So,
in my opinion, the entire season for Notre Dame boils down to two things: they can't choke like they always do, and the other thing is Riley Leonard can't get hurt. That's it. I mean, the entire season comes down to those two things because of the fact if he gets hurt, they're done. And number two, Notre Dame always chokes. They choke every year. That's why nobody believes in them. They are a fantastic program, a fantastic team, and a fantastic organization. But the problem is they choke in the last 20 years. They choke in every big game that matters, and that's why everybody around the country thinks that Notre Dame's a joke. I don't think they're a joke. I think they're a fantastic team, but they always blow it in big games. That's just the way that it goes. They have to prove starting in week 1 this year that they can beat teams that they should beat because they're actually a way better team than A&M, but they have a tendency to choke in games they shouldn't, just like last year and the year before and all the other years before that. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
well, LFG. We have Mike Denbrock as our OC. Like we shouldn't. We're not going to be. There's no more freaking boring run offense. We're getting rid of that this year. Get it out. It's going out. Get it out. Get it out.
We'll
We're
see.
going to be having
I mean, he made the world think Desmond Ridder was an NFL quarterback. So you know the guy can coach. No, and I want to back that up here. A couple comments ago, someone said he doesn't see Riley Leonard being better than Sam Hartman. I mean, they are so different, such different quarterbacks. I mean, like Riley Leonard is a backyard baller, like a junkyard dog. Sam Hartman was a technician. He was a guy who was clean in everything he did. Had to be clean.
That's what we used. That's what we got. I mean, we got Jordan Faison last year, who was fast, and we got Chris Mitchell from FIU. Chris Mitchell he's a 4-3 wide receiver that can get open deep. He's exactly what Notre Dame's been missing every freaking year. So we have the team speed, Gary. I'm telling you. That will not be a problem.
I'm most concerned about Notre Dame replacing those tackles.
That's a fair. Now, we do have Charles Jagasaw, who is a very highly rated recruit, and the guy is freaking huge. He has all the physical tools to do it. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to slot in and just replace maybe not the experience, but the physical capability traits that all has. He should hopefully be the star of the O-line. But but the coaches got to do their job and get him ready for week 1.
One game is left out on this list for week 2, and that's Iowa State.
I'm going to fall asleep, Jackson. I'm going to fall asleep.
ESPN might have been right to leave that one off, man. I mean, it's always a close game, but no one really gets interested watching it. It's just boring. I mean, nothing's going on. It's just defensive stop after defensive stop.
I mean, you like to watch great punting. I mean,
especially from Iowa.
No, week 2 looks very underwhelming outside of Texas, Michigan, to be honest. NC State, Tennessee is a decent game. Really, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. I'm a Cincinnati fan, and I say that how is that one of the games to watch?
I always say when I see Boise State on any list, if this was Boise State from 2010, it's just not the same. They're not the same team. And hearing Spencer Danielson talk about, we're not going to really use the portal. Okay, that's going to really help you win games, Boise State, because it's not working for Clemson.
Nope.
Yeah.
We'll see if Clemson's O-line's actually going to be good. I mean, all the Clemson fans are excited about their new coach. I mean, I'm not saying that they'll beat Georgia, but maybe they'll at least keep it respectable.
What I want to say to every coach that says we're not going to use the portal, whether you use the portal or not, the portal is going to use you. I mean, you're going to lose guys no matter what. Like you have to.
I agree. I mean, absolutely a perfect point, Sean. Absolutely.
JOG. First team to cross the 50.
It's still
That's
that game
messed
still
up.
might that game
Messed
still
up,
might
but
take
it's true.
4 hours. I mean, the only way a team would cross the 50 is if they pin the other team back in the 5. Their punter does, and then they get the ball.
That's what I mean. It was like that's messed up. Yeah, the Boise State Oregon one is interesting, but yeah, it's not the same Boise State team. Not the way Oregon's been going, but Arkansas will go state. I think that could be pretty interesting. You know, Bobby
Arkansas's
Petrino.
got to hold up their end of the deal in that game. I mean, they've fallen off a cliff from the heights of Sam Pittman's tenure there a couple years ago when they were actually, relevant. I mean, they were contending for the West. I mean, that's how good that they were. And then they've fallen off. I mean, KJ Jefferson, and they had those receivers, Traylon Burks. They had some good players. I mean, the running back room was good. They suck now, and now they got the OC that was there like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or whatever. So I don't know how it's going to work.
We got to keep Petrino safe, man. We got to keep him away from the college women.
Yeah,
and motorcycles.
Yes.
I'll say though, I do almost wonder if this is when Sam Pittman does his best work, because nobody expected anything of him when he got hired in. That program was a joke, and
they had like a 24 SEC game streak.
Yeah, he seems to me like a consummate sort of underdog coach. He can't handle expectations, but when there are no expectations, you get the best out of them. When you feel excited,
Again, remember, look at Oklahoma State though. Last year, that was like a train wreck the first half of the season. Then they kind of put it together, and then they got blown out a couple times. That season was
they got blown out by South Alabama in week 3.
They got blown out by UCF at a point when UCF was like 2-6 or something like that.
And Oklahoma State had just put it together, and then they got blown out. I mean,
they were ranked. They were ranked. They beat Oklahoma in the Bedlam game, and then they just got blitzed by UCF. I remember seeing this girl. It was like 55-3. I was like, what in the world has happened?
Yeah, it was very hit and miss for Oklahoma State last year. Very hit and miss.
So I want to bring this game up to y'all. Do y'all think this could have potential to be an upset? Tulane, Oklahoma.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I don't know much about Tulane at the moment, to be frank, but I know that they lost their coach and they lost a lot of key players, and QB Pratt is gone.
Yeah.
So I mean, like probably not.
That's why this Kansas State Tulane. I'm like, if this was still Fritz, I'd be like, this would be an interesting game.
Who?
Yeah,
very interesting.
The fact that it's at Tulane is interesting. The fact that it's at Tulane and that they don't play in the Superdome anymore makes it interesting.
Well, and Tulane's new head coach is John Shire from Troy. Now, he did a tremendous job.
Yeah. Summerall.
Thank you. Yeah, John Summerall did a tremendous job at Troy. I wonder how long he's going to be at Tulane.
I was right. Tulane, Kansas State played 2 years ago, and it was a close game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it was a really close
game. Most underrated game in 2022.
But that's the thing. Like, I remember that. So, I mean, that game was good because of the fact you had Pratt and you had Fritz. They're gone. It's going to be a whole different ordeal. And Kansas State's got a 5-star QB. Yeah, he's inexperienced, but Avery Johnson has a lot of hype. I mean, it's just it could be trap. It's early in the season. It could be a trap game, but Tulane's not the same team. No one's expecting them to be anywhere near as good as they were last year.
What I saw of him in that bowl game last year, he's ready. Yeah. He looked good for K-State.
Yeah, he played well.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. I was like,
he did better than
now they do have a new OC because Colin Klein's gone, but I was like, that's a Colin Klein replica almost. Just a runner, a thrower. I was like, dude.
And we got our buddy Mark M and our friend Sonny Verma from Locked On Illini Cast and the Big Ten Show and at Texas Football, The Voice of College Football. mentioned this very good point that Kansas Illinois is going to be a sneaky good game for week 2.
That got ugly last year.
Yeah, it was a good game for the vast majority of it, and then Illinois just fell apart.
I feel like Illinois has like one good season in them every 5 years or so, and then they just retreat to being garbage.
People thought Brett Bielema really had it going. Nope.
Well, he had one good year, exactly one good year with basically an NFL secondary.
Well, they said that about crap. Who was the guy before? Well, I can picture him. Why can't I think of his name?
Lovie Smith.
Lovie Smith.
He had a couple of those big upset games, and everyone's like, "We're here," and that went nowhere.
Yeah,
Brett Bielema had a fire up though in that one season.
I remember when Lovie they beat Wisconsin that one year. Wisconsin was like a 30-point favorite against them.
Yeah. Didn't they kick like a game-winning field goal or something?
Yeah, it was a game-winning field goal.
Yeah,
that was
I remember that one year that Illinois was crazy good. They had that.
When they ever been crazy good?
2007.
That's when they
Williams. That was the guy's name.
Yeah, Juice Williams with Rashard Mendenhall. And another running back that was really productive, but didn't do much in the NFL. I forget the other name, but they also had Aurelius Ben on that team. He was like a former number 1 overall recruit. He didn't do a whole lot.
I wonder what's on that week 3 list.
I was going to say I'm disgusted by this list, as I told you guys before, because this list makes no sense, and I'm a homer, so I appreciate the game being on there, but it's not one of the best non-conference games of the year, so I'm disgusted.
Hey, don't overlook them. You're 0-3 lifetime against the Broncos.
No. We haven't beat the Broncos, but now we're talking week 3. We have not beat the Broncos. Yeah, we have not.
Aurelius or Regis Ben. Yeah,
I'm sorry. No offense to whoever made this list. Washington State might be competitive this year. Who knows? But Oregon State, while I love this game and I'm so happy that we're doing it still, that is not one of the best non-con games.
Oregon will be favored by 30+ in that game, even if it is there.
The list is broken anyway because it says new Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer's first major test comes in week 3 against Wisconsin. However, last year told us not to sleep on South Florida either when it comes to the time. Okay, if they hadn't played Jalen Milroe, they would have easily won the game. We all know this. Jalen Milroe did not play in the game because they were experimenting with QBs. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. They would have won by 35+ points with Milroe. It does not matter.
I have to say, and Jackson can admit, I watched that Alabama South Florida game because I saw the score at halftime. I was like, "What in the absolute hell is going on here?"
Jalen Milroe, man.
That game forced Alabama's QB to retire from the sport.
Not a quarterback that was any good. He should have never been out there.
I remember. He's like, give me that still. I am done throwing this ball.
Coming home.
And yes, Trojan.
Oh my gosh! Yes. After Tyler Buckner won the national championship as a lacrosse player, they asked him which was better, winning the SEC championship or winning the lacrosse national championship. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe they asked him that.
And,
I remember.
Hold on. Yes, the Trojan fight here. Yes, the Trojan fight here. Oregon State have a 5-year deal right now, I believe, and same with Washington State. They got a 5-year thing going right now, so they have time to renew it later to be like a permanent non-conference and kind of like USC Notre Dame.
Don't let it go the way of Penn State, Pittsburgh, and Florida, Miami, and Oklahoma State. That's all.
The thing is, though, like if Oregon State's not able to find a conference home and get the revenue that they need to maintain a competitive program, this game might just become kind of a joke.
They'll eventually, I think, join the Big 12. I think eventually it's gonna happen.
That's the only thing that could even save both.
Maybe the ACC. Maybe
well, I
they'll
mean, yeah, they
replace
could join
Clemson and
Cal and
Florida State
Stanford
in
and stuff at the ACC, maybe.
I don't understand how those programs didn't find some home. I mean, it just makes no sense to me.
I've said it multiple times. I thought the Big Ten would just say, you know what, we're going to swoop up the entire
Yeah,
Northwest
that was
corner
never-
and
that
all
was
four
never-
teams.
It wasn't going to happen.
I know
because
everyone
they
says
weren't
it wasn't going to
financially
happen because
viable.
of this and this and this, but in the sense of logistics, it made sense.
It made sense of logistics, but the thing is that logistics have been thrown out the door with this realignment to begin with. None of it makes sense. I mean, the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, has 2 teams in California, so logistics are gone. I mean,
I can't
how
wait
could it
to see.
been? I mean,
I
the Big
can't
Ten
wait to
did
see
add those
NC.
teams, but they weren't going to do it because of finances.
I can't wait to see Syracuse versus Stanford. I can't wait.
God. That's a god awful
It's
game.
bad enough with Rutgers USC. Now you got Syracuse Stanford.
UCLA Maryland. That's a lovely game.
I mean, it was the TV money. If they had added Oregon State and Washington State, then it would have absolutely tanked the media rights deal that the Big Ten had. It would have completely tanked it. Each team would have made less because those 2 programs aren't worth anything compared to the other programs.
I think they could have still, like they did with Oregon Washington, where they gave them a partial. They could have just downgraded that even more for Washington State, Oregon State initially, and they still would have taken it. I mean, you know, it's hard to say. We don't know the exact numbers in the sense of how that would work out, but it was just kind of shocking that they didn't just swoop the whole Northwest corner and like.
Well, they should have. I agree with you. They should have, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, like honestly, the problem with bringing the many problems the Big Ten didn't want to include Washington State, Oregon State. One, academically, neither of them come close to the standards.
Yes,
and 2, they're just redundant. They don't add any value.
They don't.
As far as media rights. That, you know, I mean, so, yeah, it was never going to happen with the Big Ten. But before we get too far, we do have a glaring omission. We have not talked about the Clemson-Georgia game at all in week 1.
I said it.
You said it? Okay.
Yes, I did. I brought it up because of the fact that they played it recently several times. Like, it's been a game that's happened a lot, and they're bringing it back this year. And the only reason that nobody's really talking about it is because Clemson's falling off because Dabo won't recruit the portal.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and he's not embracing it. I mean, like Dabo's not adjusting well to the new landscape in college football, but Clemson will still have a.
I respect him, but he's not doing the right thing.
But Clemson will still have.
Stubborn with the
Clemson looks better this year because of their offensive line improvement. Like, if they can give Cade time, and if Cade improved, Klubnik has to improve. If he has
that's what I was going to say. He can't make these dumb mistakes.
Yeah, he can't. No more dumb mistakes for Klubnik. If he doesn't make mistakes,
he got hyped up a lot, and it just looked like he wasn't ready, kind of like Drew Aller. He just wasn't ready.
Yeah,
but I mean, like Clemson's not a bad team.
What are you saying, Sean?
I'm just saying Clemson is good. Like, Clemson's a good football team. They'll be competitive in the ACC. So, I mean, especially like if they end up like. It'll say something about it'll color our perceptions of both leagues for the whole season. Like, if Clemson goes in and gets drubbed by 40 against Georgia, and then they go and run the table in the ACC, like that's kind of a bad statement for the ACC. You know, I mean,
but here's the thing, Sean. Not to cut you off, sorry about that, but you remember the last time they played? The last time they played, it was a close game. It was 10-3, and a lot of people.
That was 3 years ago.
I've said this as well. If that game was played in like week 12 of the season, Georgia would have destroyed them. Clemson was only close because Georgia played terrible because it was a week 1 game. That's why I don't like these week 1 games. They do not need to have these big matchups in week 1. These teams aren't even ready for it. It's only for ratings. That was
Stetson. That was Stetson's first year as a starter, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Stetson's first.
So they were not letting Stetson do anything in that game.
Stetson didn't start that game. He didn't play in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
actually, was it Jason
Stetson came in.
Yeah, Jason Daniels was, and the only touchdown in that game, a 10-3 game, was a pick 6.
Yeah, I remember that. It was the pick six. The defense it won the game for us, like an Iowa game.
Yeah.
I
Pretty
think
much.
it was. I think JT Daniels was there in that game. He left.
He was.
He was for the
Definitely.
first like half a quarter or something like that or some shit.
No, he played. I think he played the whole game. I don't think he ever came
No, he
out,
got
but
hurt. He got knocked
he
out.
did. Oh,
Was he?
yeah.
Didn't he come back? He came back in that season because he played against Mississippi State. He came
Yeah.
back, but then I don't know.
But then they realized he was not great. So.
He was, I think, a good quarterback, but the injuries killed him.
No,
Yeah.
Florida State's not going to end up in either for the foreseeable future, apparently.
I mean,
Really, Florida State's
Wow.
screwed.
who
I don't think
knows?
the SEC will take him.
Well, no, they'll take them, but can they get out of the ACC?
I want to
think
see the
that's the question.
SEC get Florida State, Miami, Clemson, and Georgia Tech. That would be pretty awesome.
Bring Georgia Tech back to the SEC?
Why not?
Why does the SEC? Why does the SEC want Georgia Tech?
I don't
Why?
know, bring back old
Atlanta.
rivalries. I want to see Georgia Tech, Alabama play. That's a fun game.
All
It's
right.
going to be an easy win for Bama unless Bama falls off now.
Okay.
All right, let's carry on. Let's carry on. We
Yeah.
haven't talked about it. Wisconsin, Alabama.
If
Oh,
Tyler
that
That
Van
is
Dyke
definitely
plays like
that
he
is the
did,
premier game that week.
I wonder
if
if we're
Tyler
going
Van
to
Dyke plays the way that he did against A&M, Wisconsin does have a shot in this game.
I wonder if we're going to
Will
be
is correct, but I mean that's a shot in the dark. I mean he has to play great.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder if we're going to be seeing Coach Saban and Mark Ingram take a selfie with one another because, like, Ingram's at mid-noon kickoff and Saban's at college game day. So, I mean, I wonder if they're even going to interact or not.
Well, it's
Hey,
gonna be
hey,
interesting.
we have a live sighting of a Wolverine. I thought they went extinct.
Oh, Lord.
Well,
Man,
Wisconsin
it's brutal.
It's gonna be-
They used to be all over this chat. Now
it's going to be interesting what Fickle does in year two with Wisconsin, because year one was obviously an adjustment period, especially offensively too. But now, second year installing the systems, you're going to expect, you would think, progression.
Honestly, I wonder if the ReliaQuest Bowl set up some momentum for Wisconsin going into
The thing
2020.
is, you have to have a great quarterback. I mean, look at Florida, right? I mean, you had Anthony Richardson, and they didn't. They made a bowl game. They got destroyed because they didn't all the opt outs. But then the next year, they brought in Graham Mertz, and it's like that's. Florida fans were pissed because they brought in Graham Mertz. Like, they couldn't get anybody better in the portal, and they don't make a bowl game. And it's like Wisconsin.
Mertz was not the problem at Florida last year. He was one of the stronger points on the team last year.
That's true, but I'm just saying that if you don't have a fantastic quarterback and your team is like way worse than another team. I mean, look at Indiana against Ohio State in 2020. Indiana's football team was 80 billion times worse than Ohio State, but they had Penix, so they kept it close. You know, I mean, you got to have a great quarterback when your team is significantly worse, or at least your guy has to play a fantastic game. Kind of like that one guy that beat Alabama for Texas A&M, Zach Calzada. He played the game of his life, and then you never heard from him again. So, I mean, that's how this stuff works. I mean, if Tyler Van Dyke, like Will said, has the game of his life like he has done before, maybe they can win. But if he plays poorly like he did 90% of the time at Miami, they're going to get destroyed.
Or you don't take a knee.
Well, I mean, that was against Georgia Tech.
I mean,
should have won that game anyway.
From what I'm hearing, though, it's not even like settled that Tyler Van Dyke is going to be the quarterback. Who's it? The guy that was a freshman last year that came in when Mordecai was hurt for a little bit. He played pretty well. I think he's Braden Locke. Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, they're firmly. There's a legit competition going on between them, so it's not at all guaranteed that it'll even be Van Dyke.
Didn't he play a little bit against? Wasn't that last year? Did he play against Indiana or not? I can't remember.
Maybe. I know he played against Ohio State. I was at that game that they played against Ohio State. He was decent. Like I didn't walk away saying that guy's incompetent. But
Didn't Indiana beat Wisconsin last year? Yeah, I think they did because he came in that game. I remember that game. That was the only game Indiana won in conference play last year.
Yeah. Wisconsin had a very weird year last year.
Yeah, Indiana beat him 20-14. That was Indiana's only conference win.
Yeah.
Yeah, first year transition with Wisconsin, though. It'll be interesting in year 2. But that is the game of the week for week 3, definitely. But
yeah,
and this brings us up because then we're technically out of quote unquote the non-con technical schedule, technically at this point. But we have the unique week 4, UCLA at LSU.
That's gonna be.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, UCLA. I'm sorry.
I feel bad.
This game needed to be at UCLA. You remember the LSU at UCLA game when it like 2 years ago or whatever? That was a fantastic. 2021, 3 years ago. Some of these games are like 2 or 3 years ago, kind of like Kansas State Tulane was 2 years ago. This was 3, but that game because Dorian Thompson-Robinson, that was like his breakout game. He played good.
It definitely was. He had a couple of mistakes in there, but the defense was decent enough, and then they could run away with it. And that was a good game.
Mm.
Well, I mean, this is gonna be like one of the few Big Ten games that we're gonna see on like ESPN or ABC or something like that. Because
classic Big Ten game with UCLA and LSU.
Yeah, because I mean, we'll be seeing like USC LSU, like USC LSU will be on ABC. UCLA LSU's looking like it's going to be on. I'm guessing they'll put that game on SEC Network.
I love how Alabama struggles in one game because they decide to have a backup quarterback in, and like everybody still brings up Alabama South Florida. Everybody knows that if Milroe played, they'd have won by 35. And I'm not even saying that.
I'm sorry. Can we talk Alabama Auburn?
That's a robbery 36.
Game. Get the hell out of here.
That's a robbery game, man. That's a robbery game. Anything can happen.
That was a miracle play, though.
That is a robbery game. Anything can happen.
Oh,
Neil
Jesus
Campbell with $100
Christ.
donation.
Oh, the goat is here.
Nice.
Wow.
Oh, Wolfpack is against SMU. Oh, that. You know what? That actually could be a good game. That could be a sneaky game.
I saw SMU has the weakest overall schedule among Power 4 teams this year, so maybe they can make a run in the ACC in their first year. Do better than the Big 12 newcomers did last year.
Well, it's interesting because SMU is not. They don't have the platform, so to say, that a lot of the other teams like a Stanford or a Cal even have when they're joining the ACC. So they're taking that step up, whereas Cal and Stanford technically are transferring. But SMU is going to be interesting this year. But the Wolfpack could, week 0, the Wolfpack could catch them off guard. You never know. I mean, it's one of those things that happens. That's why you play it on the field, right? That's why you play the games. We could sit here and do stats and stat lines and all this stuff and be like 100% wrong. That's why you play it.
But what are we thinking about week 6 between Central
This could be
Florida?
Billy Napier's last game.
You think so?
If they lose, yeah, he might not even get that far.
No,
remember when
everybody talks about Alabama South Florida. Does anybody remember Florida South Florida? That game was a train wreck.
What is? Well,
Last
he
year.
might. I think he'll make it to. I think he'll week 6, even if they're going to fire him, because I think after week 8, his buyout goes down. I think they have to wait till like week 8 or something like that.
Well, remember with Scott Frost, they didn't wait. They couldn't wait for Scott Frost.
No, I know, but isn't Florida still paying Dan Mullen?
Well, there were. I mean, like I actually have a little bit of inside knowledge on this. there was no way they could hold on to Scott Frost. Given things that were going on inside that program at the time, it was well worth it for them to get rid of him. I don't think those situations exist with Billy Napier.
Yeah. I mean, remember what A.J. Jefferson did to Florida last year? So, and he's with Gus Malzahn now. So,
Here's the thing, Will. Not to cut you off, but I had Florida going 8-4, and these guys are laughing at me. So,
I will be. Billy Napier should get Coach of the Year if they go 8-4. Have you looked at the schedule that they have?
I second that. I agree.
If you look at the schedule and the team they have too, it's like no one should expect much from this team. I mean, really, honest.
Have you seen their last 5 games? The last 5 games of their schedule is one of the toughest 5-game stretches I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's unreal.
They literally do not play a team ranked outside the top 15 in their last 5 games.
I mean, it's like Ole Miss, LSU, and Georgia, and like.
Literally. According to this FBschedules.com, I don't know where they get these rankings from because I don't think any polls have actually been released. Their last 7 games, every team is ranked. And they're top 25.
Yeah, Florida goes 8-4. They should be in the playoff. The real's right. I agree. Put them in the playoff.
And by the way, they also play Miami and Texas A&M this season. So 9 games against teams in whatever this top 25 is. And their team's not good either.
They're going to win one of those. I don't know if it's going to be LSU or Ole Miss. They're going to win one. Watch what happens.
I don't know.
The only way that they do is if DJ Lagway ends up coming in and plays fantastic as a freshman, but the odds of that is just not great. I don't see Graham Mertz beating any of those teams.
No.
I mean, I know they beat Tennessee last year, but it was at home, and I mean, the Robert kind of fluky. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen a team go into a year right now like certain, like almost positive they're not going to end the year with their head coach as I am. I've never been more positive a coach will be fired during the season than I am that Billy Napier will be fired this season.
Scott Frost. I mean, Scott Frost was pretty certain too.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Are we missing any games week 4, week 5 or 6 non-con? I don't think so because at that point we're in conference schedule.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're missing any. Week 11, Florida State at Notre Dame. That well, I mean, there's a lot to be determined of who these teams are by then.
Well, especially with Florida State. Florida State's, I mean, they've got a whole new team coming in this year. They are the portal gods.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, most of their team left after last year, of course, of the snub.
Yeah. I mean, they did Georgia, but they'll probably, I don't know.
Week 4's got Rutgers, Virginia Tech. I mean, it's not a good game or anything, but I mean, it could be decent for what it is. Rutgers, Virginia Tech's week 4.
Hold on. Let me get this awful banner off the screen. There we go. That's better. That's better now.
Oh, man.
I mean, this should be a win for Notre Dame. Like, we usually win these night games or at least play very well like we did against Ohio State. DJ did not play well against the Irish last time out for Clemson, so this should be a Notre Dame win by 2 scores.
Will, don't do what North Carolina did and trip up to Virginia. Don't do it. Jeffrey still has hordes that night.
Man, North Carolina is the ultimate choke artist team, more so than Notre Dame. My goodness. I mean, Georgia Tech, Virginia, it's just ridiculous. With Drake May and Sam Howell, they should have been going 10-2, 9-3 every year. I mean, it doesn't matter how bad their defense was. Those were not good teams. They lost because they're just pathetic. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I like North Carolina,
I feel like Mac Brown's like in semi-retirement. anyway.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he took this job.
Not nowhere near where he was when he was at Texas or even North Carolina the first time.
No. He's definitely not. And Matt,
He
shout out.
doesn't have as many dance moves as he did a couple of years ago either. I'm sorry, Matt Brown.
No.
It's just not happening.
And honestly, there may not be like a more likable person as a head coach in college football history. College football, like he is just like a genuinely great guy.
Yeah, no. I think everyone loves Mac Brown. He's just, it's not the top of his game anymore.
Except Cal fans, but yeah.
And shout out Matt Ritson here with a little super chat. How about Gary Patterson? Let's go Baylor.
Gary Patterson, is he just trying to burn all of his bridges with TCU?
That's a good addition though to that staff because it needs it. It needs it. So that's a good addition.
Did Gary Patterson get hired as the DC at Baylor?
He's a consultant.
Yeah, consultant.
Okay, so that's why I never even knew about this hire. They probably didn't even.
Yeah,
Wait, hold on. Did Gary Patterson go to Baylor? I thought he got hired at Texas.
He was at Texas for a year.
Yeah,
and then he went to Baylor.
Texas,
Okay. I missed that news then. But he's
and like Baylor and TCU have a big rivalry. I kind of guess. I mean, the Dallas
they hate each other.
The Fort Worth, Waco kind of.
TCU, don't they have a bigger rivalry with SMU though?
Oh yeah, much bigger. Yeah, absolutely. That's the DFW rivalry. Waco,
I think.
Isn't that like the Iron Skillet or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I think they've the most consecutive years rivalry that's been played is Miami of Ohio and Cincinnati, and I think TCU.
Miami, Ohio, Cincinnati's going to be going away after this year, I think.
What?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, that just breaks my heart. My granddaddy played in that rivalry. Come on.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Matt Ritson won. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. It helps the channel out a lot here. There's a bunch of fucking great chats going out here. Forex. What in the world do you do live to drop in $100 on this random sports talk? Do you have just that rich? Neil is our superstar. He is a GOAT around here. And don't test him because he will outspend you. He will.
Hey.
I have seen it live. I've seen it live before.
Hey, let's just say Neil is a Nevada fan, and maybe we can leave it at that.
And they were good when they had Carson Strong.
Well, I'm saying like if you go to the Circus in Reno, and you ask who Neil Campbell is, people might know.
Oh, I bet they do. I bet he pulls up. He has a private entry. They're like, "Welcome, sir." He's got the sweet box, all that stuff. Like, come on now. And Neil Brown. This is Neil you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if Florida's going someone, Jed Fish is an interesting topic because Jed Fish moves around so much. Florida opened.
It's kind of like Danny Sprinkle in college basketball. He went from like Montana State to Utah State to Washington basketball in like 3 years. So when a coach hops to 2 different places quick, they're going to move again, probably.
And he's moved like 17 times in 20 years, 24 years, something like that. I mean, if Florida opens and they offer him, he's gone. Sorry, Washington.
I mean, college coaches are kind of vagabonds, but I do honestly feel like the Florida job for Jed Fish is like what he's aiming for.
Yeah, but why would you even want the Florida job? I know money, dude, but Florida.
Honestly, look. If Florida,
because there's like 6 5-stars within an hour drive of you out there in Gainesville.
There's so many good.
Yeah, but they want to go to Georgia.
If Florida can land Jed Fish, I'm like, Florida, you nailed it finally. You finally got someone that has shown that they could build a program and that's his job. That's the one he wants. Apparently,
This
you nailed it.
This is the weird thing about Florida, and I've always said this: they are so inconsistent. If you take out the Spurrier and Meyer years, this is not an exceptionally successful program.
Same
And
thing with
honestly,
Florida.
that's not a it's not a big sample. Spurrier was there for 12 years. Meyer was there for 6. It was, like those were fairly brief flirtations with the great, and they were amazing during both of their runs, and they've been pretty above average to above average outside of those.
If you take out the Kyle Trask section, then Florida since Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer has been very bad for the most part.
Yeah, it's not been great. It's not been great. They had a couple good. They had a couple good years. They had a couple good years. But nothing spectacular.
And they were they were just isolated. It was just like that 1 year where I remember when they lost to Teddy Bridgewater in Louisville in the Sugar Bowl. I think they went like 10-2 or 11-1 that season.
Yeah. That was That was a great game. That was a great Sugar Bowl game. That was a good one.
Yeah. But that stood out like a sore thumb because they were completely mediocre outside of that one season.
And then the shoe year.
Yeah.
So the Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts year.
This is how shit this list is because that's where it stops. And again, this list did not add USC Notre Dame, which I was like, wait. How do you not have USC Notre Dame? You had Stanford Notre Dame, but not USC Notre Dame? What the hell with this list? Whoever this writer is needs to be fired immediately from the NCAA. So we still have USC Notre Dame, of course, closing out the season as usual.
And Florida
I
State.
think it will be a good game. I'm going to disappear for a few moments here. So please carry on, though, gentlemen, as you do, because we have nothing better to do. It's Sunday night at 11 p.m. or midnight, depending on what time zone you're in. So, this is our lives. This is our lives.
Yep.
Carry on, gentlemen, please.
It just depends how good SC's defense gets, but I feel like the Irish should be able to handle Miller Moss, but we'll see how good he gets. I mean, there's a lot of SC fans that are thinking he'll be as good as Baker, but I'm not totally sold on him yet.
No. I think the one thing that you can think if you're a USC fan is Miller's going to run the offense as it's called. Whereas, like Caleb last year, like it was sometimes just like, okay. The play call is hike the ball to Caleb, and Caleb, you do stuff. That was, and I mean, whereas I think there's going to be maybe a little more structure to the offense this year, and maybe that will actually help the USC offense in some ways. But I mean, they're I think they got real offensive line issues, and I mean I don't know if our friends Tim Prangley or Matt Zemek are.
Tim's excited about the young guys on the O line, but I'm not sold.
Everyone's excited about their young guys. We'll see when it happens. I mean, right now, like it's a big question mark. The USC, especially the right side of the offensive line. I remember looking at their depth chart in spring, and they didn't even have a right tackle. They literally had nobody. So, like it's. I think they've got some structural issues within that program right now. Hopefully, I think Lincoln Riley's a genius in some regards, but he's got a lot of like glaring weaknesses too. So. Austin, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here, Sean. What's up?
What's up, man? Just wondering, I hadn't heard from you in like half an hour or so. Just wondering.
Yeah, I'm still here. I was
Cool.
the one who said Florida's going 8-4.
Yeah, I know.
Well, someone in the chat a couple minutes ago said that Florida's definitely a top job. Any decent coach should be able to win big there. Here's the thing, though. I mean, the SEC just has so many good teams in football right now. I mean, like, if you're just decent, you're not going to win. I mean, look at Sam Pittman a couple years ago. Again, I mean, everybody's like, oh, look what he's doing. They're really good. Now Arkansas's garbage again. I mean, you have to be really good to win in the SEC right now because literally the top 10 to 11 teams in the conference are all solid. Like, I remember when people were saying that, like, oh, only like the top 3 or 4 teams in the SEC are good. I'm like, really? I mean, you really think? Does anybody remember when like Mississippi State that year made a bowl game because of the pandemic or whatever and all that? They were like 3-7 or whatever, and they beat Tulsa, who was like 6-2. I know Tulsa that's a group of 5, but you know what I'm saying though. Like the SEC is a really good conference. It's better top to bottom than the Big Ten. Big Ten's getting better with the additions of the Pac-12 teams, but we all know that the SEC was better top to bottom pre-expansion by far than the Big Ten. And the only team that really sucked was Vanderbilt. Like even the teams like Kentucky or Mississippi State or Arkansas, they could always be decent. And Florida's just now one of those.
Was really bad.
Yeah,
well, Arkansas at one point was really bad, but not anymore. Like they're not atrociously bad. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I know people in the chat are going to disagree because a lot of people are, the Big Ten. See, because Steven's Big Ten fan, Ohio State. I like different teams for different conferences. I'm just being honest, though. Right now, the SEC has 10 to 12 teams that are solid teams, and Florida's not one of them. It's going to take some time to get them back there. I mean, I don't have to name them. I mean, all the teams are solid.
Yeah, and I've said this, as an Ohio State fan the last several years. I'm like, you know what? I feel like we could go out there, play our worst game half the time, maybe more of our Big Ten games. I feel like we could go out there, play the worst game imaginable that we're capable of playing,
like that Northwestern game.
Yeah, and still win comfortably. It's like you can't really do that in the SEC. The other teams in the SEC have too many talented players.
Mm-hmm. Well, like Jason just said, he said Florida's a monster compared to Kentucky and Arkansas. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying that right now they're below them. The way that they're playing, the way that their program is, and it's going to take some time to turn them around. Billy Napier he could not, but if they do fire him this year, and it's like that's fine and dandy, but now you're starting over at square one again. I mean, you're getting this point where you just firing coaches before they can even really do anything because you're expecting a turnaround like this. It doesn't always work that way, even in the portal era, especially in the SEC where there's a lot of great teams. And yes, Florida's a fertile recruiting ground. They got more great players in Florida than any other state, but all the players are going to Georgia. They're going to Bama. They're not going to Florida. They got to get them back to go to Florida. They have to get them back to the Gators.
And that says something like about Florida as a state, like generally, like is a unique part of the country. It should be kind of its own region, Florida. I mean, it's extremely transient. It's extremely older people. I mean, from different parts of the country. It's not that kind of communal sort of feel that you get in a place like Ohio or like Michigan or Georgia or Alabama, where people have lived there their whole life, and this is, and they really, I mean, like they're so, the community is so tied into their college football program that doesn't really exist in Florida. But, I mean, like that, not to the same degree that it does in other places. It's just a different. It's a very different culture in other parts of the country.
Well, I mean, there are areas in Florida that are just retirement communities like Marco Island and the Villages that are completely different than Miami. Miami's completely different than Tallahassee. I mean, they're all. It's a state that has so many unique differences all over the place.
It could, it could be its own country, and it would be one of the most diverse countries in the world. You know.
All right, Sean, we're not talking politics here. Shut up.
No.
It's not even political. I mean, like we're talking geography here. I'm digging the geography. I love it.
Yeah,
it's very interesting this year. That's the biggest thing because, like you say, now there's conferences that are literally east to west, all across the board, and it's just weird. It's so weird. Still, it's still setting it in for me. Still to be like, we're going to be playing Maryland. Like, what? That's a conference.
It's
game?
just wrong. It will never make sense for me. I mean, and even if it does, it's going to take like a decade of time. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I've always been a geography person. I thought it was weird when Louisiana Tech was in the Western Athletic Conference. It's like, no. And now that's an aberration, but now it's on.
How about when Idaho was in the Sun Belt Conference?
Yeah, that too. Now they're not even in the FBS anymore. How did you go back? They relegated themselves from the FBS to the FCS. How can you do that to yourself?
I'm a traditionalist in that sense because it is geographic conferences make the most sense, and now we've just seen it go. Excuse my language, Mark. Fuck wild, in the sense of, like just coast to coast.
As of now, the conference that makes the most geographic sense is the SEC still. It's the only one left, technically, because the Big Ten's jacked up, the Big 12's jacked up, the ACC's messed up. They're all messed up. The SEC still kind of makes sense.
Yeah. You can draw like a sort of reneasonable little graph line around it. It's just expanded a tiny little bit. It didn't even expand that much. Like you only added states that you were bordering already.
The Big 12, the Big 12 only doesn't make sense in the sense of it's the West Virginia
and Cincinnati.
Well, in Cincinnati, yes, they tried to bridge. They tried to bridge that.
They've got BYU and now too, and
in the Arizona, so that makes and UCF, obviously UCF, but
UCF's the messed up one. I mean,
that's the one. That's the one that's kind of like that doesn't even make any sense because there's no
UCF going to Arizona. I mean, that's almost just as bad as Rutgers to Maryland, almost. It's serious. It's the SEC. It's the only conference that isn't messed up of the Power Four.
It is the only one that's not clueless on like we're here. This is our area. Plus, again, outside of the Pac-12 prior to, the SEC is the only one who doesn't have to worry about counting and counts correctly because the others are the Big 12 and Big 10, and that's not correct. They're not those numbers anymore.
Steven just said it's turned to the SEC show, and I literally just mentioned all four conferences in the last minute.
What have you guys been talking about while I've been gone? This is what I do when I disappear. You guys go off topic.
You said we could talk about whatever.
That's fair. That's fair.
So we all basically hatched a plan to overthrow Ron DeSantis and install a socialist republic in Florida. That's
like I did not mention that. I mentioned the Villages, but I didn't mention any of that.
John, I feel like I missed a lot more. You guys are not telling me the whole story.
Hey, bits and pieces, you figured it out.
It was all Jackson's idea. He can probably.
That's fair.
Here's the real plan, Ben. Jackson said he wants to kick you out so he can take it over himself. He's trying to make a hostile takeover.
That's fine. I'll remove.
We did it.
Jackson,
Get the fuck out of here with that nonsense.
Can't believe what you guys did.
When Central Florida and Colorado play, that will be kind of confusing because I will have to spend some time. But they have the exact same color scheme, right?
Here's my question: how are you feeling about like Colorado Cincinnati? Like, how's that a conference game?
That's a weird one. That's a weird one.
I like I said, my grandfather played football at Cincinnati. My grandparents met at Cincinnati. I've been a Cincinnati fan my whole life. I don't know, like 10 years ago, if we'd be in the same conference as Colorado. How I would have thought about that, I don't know. Like,
I mean, I would have never thought any of this, man. I mean, I thought
Well,
when
like,
Nebraska
it's
went
color-
to the Big Ten, it was
yeah.
weird. I mean, like that was when I was little. I thought that was weird.
All right,
Now
I'm
it's
gonna-
just it's been blown open.
Thinking of since we're on this topic of the realignment stuff. So, in your honest opinion, right now, as you look at it, obviously before any games are played, all that stuff, non-con, all this stuff, what do you see as the biggest, the best conference in the sense of overall strength with the realignment? That's the final question of the night. That's a tough question because it's like, ooh, you've got to deep dive into
My
that.
answer is I think the Big Ten benefited from the realignment more than the SEC because it got them really close to the SEC's level. They were behind. They were lagging behind, but the additions especially financially, got them to the SEC's level. But I would argue for this season, the SEC, because the SEC's conference is so deep, so loaded this year, so many great teams that Steven doesn't agree with me on, but it's true. The conference is deep. I mean, if Florida was in the Big 12, they would make a bowl game easily. They would. But
I
since
still
they're
don't
the
think
SEC, they're
Mississippi
probably not
State.
gonna win.
I still think Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Vandy will be bad.
They probably will, but you know what I'm saying overall, though. That's 3 teams out of 16. But I'm just saying that I think that the Big Ten
you can
benefited
almost
the
add
most.
Florida to that.
Yeah,
too.
you probably have Florida to that.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question randomly, because we were talking about realignment, and it's like
Mhm.
that is a tough question, top to bottom, because then you're digging into the weeds of the mid tier to lower teams and doing comparisons. But we haven't gone through non-con yet, so let's see what happens with non-con. That will tell us a lot, like LSU versus UCLA and USC. That will tell us a lot because LSU
I mean, I
is
guess
projected
South
still to be
Carolina
good.
might be in there with a bad.
Mhm. The Big Ten benefited the most long term because they needed to catch up with the SEC, and this was their last chance. I mean, imagine if USC had gone to the SEC or Oregon. I mean, obviously the geography would have been messed up, but like literally, the Big Ten would have never been able to catch up. They had to acquire those teams to get on the SEC's level. They had to.
And shout out to Oregon and I mean, someone said it earlier. Blame USC. They're the destruction of the pack. They were. USC sucks. But shout out to Washington, Oregon administration to reach out to the Big Ten, 2 years ago to go, hey, you want to vet us for approval, basically? So we're good to go if you want us. So, they took the initiative.
Yeah, I mean, like, and if the Big Ten didn't expand here, like, what would this be to stop Ohio State from saying, "See you"? Like, you like this league's not keeping up.
It hasn't been keeping up forever. I mean, Ohio State, like Marcus said tons of times, I mean, they've been the most dominant team in a singular conference out of any team in college football history. They have basically, outside of a couple of years every now and then, have dominated the Big Ten throughout history.
Yeah.
They just completely dominated it. And Alabama has not dominated the SEC, or USC didn't dominate the Pac 10, 12, 8, whatever, every year. I mean, they were really great most of the time, but not always. Ohio State was the most dominant team in the Big Ten, and the most dominant team in a conference for the most part of history of any team by far. And the vast majority of it is because the other teams did not pick up the slack. I mean, especially recently, we know Penn State just can't win the game. They cannot win the big game rarely. Michigan can do it now, but until recently, and they probably won't in the future, and we'll see. We'll see with them. But they couldn't beat Ohio State for a decade. They just couldn't even do it. And the rest of the teams, Ohio State might more up with the rest of them.
Except Purdue. Where's Mike Hogue here?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
except Purdue, but
Purdue
I guess that's a close game.
And that Iowa game. And the Iowa game.
Well, but like Purdue is our weird, like, chronic, like, just sort of nemesis. It was like, how can you guys be beating us 1 out of every 3 times we play? Like, come on.
Well, and the thing too was, Sean, is they had that kid in attendance that had cancer too. It was kind of almost like
absolutely. Yeah. No. I knew as soon as they started showing that kid on TV, I'm like, crap. They got the cancer kid. There's no way we can win. Right?
Yeah, that was a really sad story for sure. I mean, I hated that. It was so sad that he passed at the end of the season right after the bowl game. I remember that. It was awful. But to be fair, though, Purdue has beaten Ohio State other times, though. They have done it. It wasn't just that.
Like 2009.
Yeah, 09. Yeah.
Yeah, guess what? It happens. That's called trap games and just another team competing better than you are that week.
And Rondell Moore was unbelievable in that game too. I mean, Rondell Moore was just sick. He was never as good as he was in that game again. Injuries caught him. He was so good.
He was a beast that entire year, though.
Insane.
I mean,
he was.
Yeah.
He single-handedly beat Indiana that year because Indiana almost beat him. Indiana almost beat Purdue that year. They lost by a touchdown. Rondell Moore just was on fire.
And Indiana should have gotten him, too. Rondell Moore is from, like, close to Bloomington, I believe. He's from, like, that. Yeah. Southern
Purdue
Indiana.
has beaten a lot of teams.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I don't want to come crashing down on this show, but we have been overtime now, and I'm expecting this very important phone call that I definitely have to take. So please, one, I obviously appreciate you here, and I don't want to forget beforehand, Matt, Neil, super chats, amazing. Neil, you're the GOAT. We're not going to deny that here on this channel. I don't think you can. If you do, you don't know Neil. He's amazing. Is there any final thoughts on your non-con games, the must-watch one, the one you must watch? Final thoughts around the board, Jackson, Will, etc., etc.
I mean, the Louisville game will be fun, but unfortunately it's on Peacock.
Will's beard is fucking taking over, and he is abusing that beard power. I'm telling you. That's twice now. I'm like, Jackson, Will, and he's abused that beard power. Will, I don't know if you're ready to handle the power that comes with a beard. I don't know if you're ready to do it. All right, carry on.
Well, for me, it's going to be interesting to see what happens going into 2020.
James Harden.
Yep, there you go. Fear the beard.
All right, now
Will. Okay.
Whose turn is it?
Will, that's your cue.
Oh, wait. Crap.
We'll space it out.
You were a second ahead of me, Jeffrey.
What was I going to say?
Oh, I said Will was spacing out. Was I freezing there?
I've given up.
What's happening right now?
Just do whatever you want to do. I don't care.
Go ahead, Will.
Wait, what am I supposed to do?
And then your turn to say
just one
non-conference.
Oh, I said Notre Dame Louisville before. Yeah, Notre Dame Louisville.
Oh, you already went. Okay, I must have froze for a minute. I didn't even hear it.
Jeffrey, it's your cue now.
Wait, have Sean and Austin already gone too? Did I miss that
I
much?
have not. No. We have not, but you're in line. You're part of the.
I like their colors. I think it's a cool. Their uniforms are good.
All right. Okay, well, you can find me at Only Talk Sports on YouTube, where I talk sports pretty frequently. And
I mean,
in San
we're not
Jose
at that
State,
point yet.
Brent Brennan did a good job there. He did a good job. Brent Brennan did a good job there. I'll say
We're,
that. So
we're not promoting ourselves just yet, are we?
You can also do that too. I'd actually prefer you do it all now, all at
Okay,
once.
let's go.
Jeffrey's on top of things.
I thought Ben said that. And you can find me out on Twitter as well. Jeffrey at Only Talk Sports. I gave George Egger what he wants with San Jose State. I can't wait for college football, and Indiana Florida International is going to be a great game. I can't wait for week 1. Kurt Signetti, the new era of Indiana football, and Alabama football would have beaten South Florida by 35 with Bill Rowe. He's not Michael Vick, but he's still pretty darn good.
And Jason O, how dare you? We do not say
I was
going to
say Mary Mac.
Yeah.
I was going to
We
say
do not
Mary
say
Mac,
that name
man.
around here anymore. No more. Merrimack has their
The
spotlight.
Mary Mac and the Monitor.
Yes.
Good history,
Mary
man.
Mac.
Good history.
No, absolutely not.
The legend lives on.
It's going to be a weekly spot here.
Sean, I guess
Okay.
it's your turn.
All right. One last non-conference game I want to spotlight. Not that these teams are good, they're not, but Michigan State, Boston College. Two new head coaches with promising futures. So see if Bill O'Brien or Jonathan Smith can have their program on the right track earlier. And you can find me likely on the couch and in my home for the next week while I'm watching all of the Olympics going on.
Sean, do you think we have a chance to win a medal in wrestling?
Oh yes. Do you want me to? Can I spend like 20 minutes breaking down our wrestling? No,
I don't know if Ben will allow that.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
No.
I'm lucky I haven't received this phone call already, so that's why I'm like, okay, I gotta shut this bitch
Oh.
down.
Jason's still on my case about
So
Boston College, by the way. He's still on my case.
Just a heads up, we'll starting tomorrow. Meet Laura.
Hey, Sean,
it sounds
key
like you're
advice,
underwater.
Stop putting your hand over the fire stick.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
There we go. No.
Ben's
So,
a genius.
Tomorrow, yes, we've got Amit Alor wrestling at women's freestyle, 68 kilograms. She was drawn in ridiculously, not seeded. She has number 1 seed, and I think she's going to win. I think she's the favorite to win gold here. And we've got a bunch of them, and Michigan has a bunch of guys wrestling for other countries, so fuck those guys. Yeah. And,
Rated R, baby.
And no. Every
Say 2 F words, it's rated R. And Ben said a couple already, so.
every one of our men's and women's freestyle wrestlers are very, very capable of winning a medal. Our Greco team is not great, but we'll see what comes of it. So that will be what I'm doing for the next week. I have until about I think I have to wake up at 8:00 tomorrow to start watching it, and the rest of the week I have to wake up at 4. We can get on top of it, and I will be there for every second of it. So that will be what I am doing for the week is watching Olympics. Only happens once every 4 years, so very, very happy to make the sacrifice. Awesome.
So you can find me on X/Twitter, whichever you prefer to call it. You can find me here on Sports Talk with Austin. Got a great live stream coming up, hopefully. And you can find me on Facebook. And that's where you can stalk me if you want. But the non-conference game I'm looking forward to is Louisville Notre Dame. Because last time we played there was the year before COVID when they had Ian Book and company. and it was a pretty relatively close game, 12-7. And when we had
Oh, gosh,
Jamal
I forgot.
Puma pass, yeah. So I'm kind of interested to see with both of us better. No more COVID. Let's see who the better team is on their turf this time. No more excuses. I'm tired of the excuses. Let's get it done. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Let me call back. John, can we get John's chat up Young Guns reunion tour? John, are you from like the Pittsburgh area right here, and you're talking about Spencer Lee and Zane Rutherford, Young Guns Wrestling Club? Is that what you're talking about?
Hey, the only Young Guns I know is the Emilio Estevez movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what?
John, can we get your insight on some Michigan?
Literally, two Olympic wrestlers on this team wrestled on team out of, and I know John's from PA. I don't know exactly where, but yeah, two guys came from the Young Guns Club. There, is that what John was referring to?
I doubt
No,
it.
he was referring to the four of us.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, I was like,
We-
I highly doubt that.
Yeah,
Can we get
he was
John's
not
opinion?
referring to that.
That is an amazing coincidence. That really is. It's kind of
I'm
crazy.
open. If you pay the right kind of money, I'll
John doesn't know the name Jody Strip Matter at all.
Okay, now my eardrums are blown for the night. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. Yeah, I have a thing I gotta go deal with. So I'm going to deal with. Jackson might be running the show next week. I'll let him pick the topic, even if he's going to run it. I'll let him do all that stuff. I'll work with it with him. Otherwise, we'll be off next week. So that's why it's important. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So next week you don't miss the show if we go live. Otherwise, we will be back the following week. Next week I just have a concert I'm going to. Blame Sam. Don't blame me. He bought the tickets. So kind of stuck. Oh, Austin dropped. Okay. That's cool. So,
Enjoy later.
Austin's
There
back.
he is.
I think Austin's back. So everyone, all the panel, of course, appreciate you guys coming in to talk football. We're getting very, very close to the season. I know we're all. I don't care who it is. The first game of the year, I'm going to be watching it. I don't care who it is.
Same. It could be Mary Mac, and you'd still watch it, right?
I will still watch it. I don't care. I will
Especially
still
if
watch
it's
it.
Monitor is Mary Mac.
Yeah, I still will be watching it. I don't care. It's that time of year. We're almost there. And with the expansion, yeah, it's just more interesting. It's more interesting in a weird way because you're just like, okay, this is happening. It's real now. Here we go. Settle in. To the chat, everyone, obviously, we appreciate you guys all very much. Neil and Matt, the super chats really help support the channel. Go Wolfpack. Good luck against SMU. I think Wolfpack does have a shot. You never know. SMU's, trying to bridge that gap between moving up to the ACC. You never know. Yeah. Neil, I'll be rooting for the Wolfpack. I have no vested interest in SMU, so I could care less.
Oh, come
even
on.
though I've seen SMU at a home game, I did go to their stadium once and watched a home game. That's as much
That
vested
would be
interest.
fun, Michael, but I'm not a student. Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, once again, everyone here on the panel, everyone in the chat, Neil and Matt for super chats, appreciate you guys. We will either see you next week, so watch for the notifications, or we'll see you the week following. And remember, college football is coming close, and we're almost there. Something else to be addicted to finally, besides alcohol. I mean, All right. Any final words, or do I need to let Jackson?
Well,
just
when
leave
you
me
said
out?
that about alcohol, I'm the only one that's not legally able to drink it, so that's why I laughed.
Then why are you on this show? No,
Because hey, I'm old enough, man.
Hey,
I can join the military. I mean, I'm old enough. Come on.
That's what I don't
that's
get.
fair. That's fair.
You
You think I
join the
didn't get drunk?
military
You think
at
I didn't get drunk
18.
underage in the military? Hell no, of course I did.
That's what I don't get. You can join the military at 18, but you can't drink at until 21. Good grief. I don't get that.
I mean, I got drunk before I joined the military too, so maybe that's part of my problem. I'm not sure. But the military didn't help.
I'm not in the 9th grade, Ralph. I'm not in the 9th grade.
Well, more the point, you need to grow the beard. Prove them wrong.
Yeah,
I don't
Jeffrey,
know,
you need
man.
to
I don't know if
exit
I
your
can go the
Twitch
Will
phase.
route.
I will say it filled in pretty nicely for Will. I didn't know if Will could grow a beard either. It's actually filled in pretty nicely.
Mhm.
Like it's pretty.
Jason says I'm
even.
uncomfortable with Jeffrey knowing about the villages. I just like maps too much, man. I like maps way too much. I just know it's a community of retirees. That's all I know. I'm not a socialite. I've never been there. I'm not, I like maps. I've seen it on the map.
Oh god.
I know way too many cities across America. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh god.
Well,
All right. Well, everyone, thank you again for joining. Matt, and especially Neil again. Super chats. We love them. Helps the channel a lot. Gentlemen on the panel, thank you. And if you want nonsense, join me tomorrow on my channel, Exploring with Sam, for the Monday night live stream. And maybe next week or 2 weeks from now, Jeffrey will be back and he'll have a beard. You have that to look forward to.
I don't know. We'll see.
Jackson, do you want to do the honors?
let me guess. Yes, definitely, absolutely. Pop-Tart, play us out.
Hell yeah. Oh.
I've got that 33-degree Mason.
This will never not get old.
wow.
So
Hey,
funny.
Yeah, we're gonna have
it's
some
gold.
chocolate filling in this one.
I don't know how they could beat that this year.
There's no way. There's no way.
Pop-Tarts pants the referee, maybe? Who gets a flag if he pants to the referee?
Pop-Tart.
The guy, he doesn't even get phased, man.
No, he's just like, he looks back kind of like, what are you doing? That's about it. Like, dirty Pop-Tart.